use this time. This is precious time. In the midst of busy days, in the midst of difficult days, in the midst of unusual days. These are moments where we come together individually and collectively to meditate together. Be sure that you have taken a moment to align yourself in your physical self, sitting upright and allowing that which you carry on your shoulders and in your heart, and surrender it into the hands of Spirit for the time being. Choose at least 3 items that are most upfront for you, and just say, very focused, I surrender you, I release you, I let you go into the hands of Spirit right now. We are looking for comfort today. It's a very interesting word. And again, when you think that these daily words are chosen many months ahead, before they are published, before they are in your hands, comfort. You deserve comfort. We deserve comfort. But we are here taking that step into going from what would be comfort on the physical, on the human level, the 3rd dimensional level. We take that shift across. And that comfort that we are assured, that we are affirming, is that comfort from Spirit that says you uniquely, you have this Christ Spirit in you. Small, but it's a spark. And no matter what goes on in your life, that spark is there. As long as you're in this body, that spark is on this earthly with you incarnation. And it's from there that the comfort flows in that awareness is growing. Every time you pray, every time I meditate and pray, I strengthen that awareness of my spark, and that I'm on this planet carrying that spark, and that spark is to become bigger and bigger and easier to access. It's only in that statements that the light is stronger than the darkness, that the comfort is more real than any collective fear. It's only as you're growing more and more solid, more and more grounded, in that relationship to the spark, the God spark. The gods have planted that God spark in you. So we have these events that bring us together. So we have these times of prayer, individually and collectively, where we support one another by being together. Because when we are together, when we pray together, when we show up together, we amplify the field. This is the next idea that has been planted eternally in you, that where two or more are gathered, there I am also. There is you and the other, but there is a presence. I often call it the space between you and the other is something else, and it's larger than the sum of the two of you. Comfort in ideas of truth. And before we go on, in the fullness that I know is present now that we are together, and that when we are doing this, when we are together, the space between becomes a fountain of living waters. And you can now send out that living waters. You can send it out in the images of light traveling across time and space to people in your life. It just takes a second. With each person that comes to mind, that you beam this light from the fullness of the sacred space between us now. Remember, it's not you and it's not from you, it's through you that this light is going out. and is touching and healing and aligning the people that you pray for. I think of the people whose names are on our prayer list. We have a chaplaincy program where we pray with each other, for each other, and link to Silent Unity to put all of us, Unity Center of Montreal, into their prayer consciousness. For we believe in the power of prayer and the reality of our collective consciousness. So we know that we are blessed for whenever we are willing to be of service, willing to be instruments, willing to be channels, we are also receiving. The law of giving and receiving. It always operates when you deal in the field of spirit. When you are working in the field of spirit. So I invite you to come back. When we come back, I want you to travel gently into being in your own space. Wiggle your feet. Move around in your body. Gently open your eyes. Unmute yourself now, please. I have muted you all for the meditation time, but unmute yourself if you be so kind. So I can hear you again. I want to talk to you about this field of dreams, planting ideas in the field of dreams. And the wording of this planting your field of dreams comes from a minister who did quite a long time ago, did a course on this. Her name is Mary Morrissey. I don't even know if she's still on this planet. But it just touched me. And I wanted to make it the title of our musings this morning. Planting your field of dreams. So I will present to you some ideas. Some of them we have already touched on, and some of them is an ongoing list of them. The first one is, of course, what already has come through in our meditation and in our words at the beginning, and that is mysticism as experienced in your everyday, and that we in Unity are making that step to go from metaphysics to mysticism. We still have the metaphysical foundation, always. We begin there. We start there. But now we are living in a time where things are not the way they were 100 years ago. And we are today in a time where all of us are at the edge. All of us are at the edge of what we thought, what we wanted, what we expected. And it's like, no matter what you're planning, it's always at the end of your planning is always the statement, well, we'll see what will be in a month, right? Right? So we want to plant in the field of dreams. We want to plant in the field of spirit. And mysticism, as we understand it, and I would like you to think of this as an idea more and more planted in your conscious. Your field is your consciousness. Your garden, where you're putting ideas, is your consciousness. It's not something that goes in here and out here. It's not something that once you leave the meeting is just gone away. Or it's not something that you even look up later on or Google it. It's your consciousness is what you have over your lifetime integrated into yourself, into yourself. That's what consciousness finally is all about, is what you brought in terms of spiritual teaching into your everyday life, and you lived with it and you made it work. You made it you're having experiences with it. And the moment you have an experience with it, it is coming from consciousness. It's yours. You follow me? How important this understanding is that the mysticism and the consciousness, they are basically like this. And what you know has to be experienced for it to become consciousness. And it's the consciousness that is the field, it's the vibrancy, it's where your life is being created. Okay, number 2, an idea for your planting is the idea of becoming kin keeper. I call it K-I-N, kin keeper, restorer in the field of your family, in your clan. Gathering people who are in your life. They don't necessarily have to be biological family. They can be neighbors. They can be friends. We have friends with whom we have this clan feeling. We belong. That you see yourself being a kin keeper. Somebody who is starting to do things that bring restoration to the clan, to your enlarged family of circle of friends. You can do that through preserving rituals, holy days, becoming, I have the memory that touched me so much. I'm one side of me is married. Well, I'm married into a Jewish family, but a non-practicing Jewish family. And one day, one of my stepdaughters invited us to a Seder. A family who hadn't been practicing anything Jewish. She invited everybody to a Seder. And she was standing there with her book, and she was doing it by the book, now having all the ingredients on the table. And we were all gathered around. And she finally turned to one of, I think it was her godfather, and she said, "Would you do the reading?" And he said, "Well, he said, she gave him the book, and he did some of the reading that she had marked up. And she became a kin keeper. She had gathered her clan, and she was. I need to silence somebody here. That is. It's quiet again. Yeah. So that is a beginning of, in this clan of mine, or in her clan of hers, to start stepping up. Doesn't mean that you have to do Jewish things or Christian things or any, but that you see that you can be a kin keeper. It's a very, very sacred word to be a restorer. To say to spirit, I'm willing to step up and to be a restorer of the spiritual reality or the rituals in my life with my clan. You might say, well, nobody will come. My clan is not interested in unity. My clan is not interested in, I have tried. Then you do it in spirit. You step into and say, I'm willing to stand in the field of my consciousness. I'm willing to represent that I'm standing as a kin keeper. I'm standing as a presence, as a representative. And when you become a representative between spirit and your clan, you know, and I'm not talking necessarily biological family, right? You know I'm talking about who is in your world, your friends and neighbors. Once you do that, once you are saying to spirit, I'm willing to be that, I love the word kin keeper. You start seeing that you are called to be a restorer of relationships. Not always easy to be a restorer. You know what a restorer does? Takes a beautiful old classic painting and fix it all the cracks and the holes from the years of abuse and all the, you know, the extra layers of paint that have been painted over it. It's meticulous, minute work. Well, being a restorer can also mean in relationship that you're going to find holes and cracks that need, right? That need to be, but you're in the service. You're not doing it yourself. You're in the service. The next idea in the field of dreams that I would like you to plant more and more in your consciousness is the idea that the goal is not happiness, it's meaning. Look for meaning. Meaning goes way beyond happiness. You can have meaning in the midst of a very challenging time. We shared with each other the caregiver concept that people who have taken on being caregivers for either family reason or professional reason, there was a survey done and caregivers inevitably felt that it was in those times that they were caregiving, they felt the most proud of themselves, the most meaningful. It's not happy. It can be extremely difficult to be a caregiver and it can really push you to the limit. But the meaningful. So happiness for us at this time is not the goal. Please, I know the world wants you to be happy. I know the world wants you to be happy and is selling you, you know, that's what the internet is all about, selling you happiness. It's meaning. What is meaningful to you at this point in your life? And then another idea, and I find this very interesting, is the idea of beginning to think anew about thinking. To think anew about thinking, because in this time of the internet, there is a decline, even when they do studies with kids and students, a decline of the ability to think. We learn how to assimilate and take ideas and even write essays that way and so on. But the idea of actual thinking, and this idea about thinking is the very first step in your ability to participate in shaping the world that is about to come. As somebody was saying, we as a human race are to make the shift from puberty to full maturity. And in order to do that, we must rethink our ability to think. So I have 3 words about accompanying an invitation to rethink thinking. There are the 3 C's: courage, compassion, creativity. And if you have a pencil and a paper, write those 3 C's down, because I want to say as little as possible about them. I want you to do the thinking. Courage, compassion, creativity. There is a very outside of the box way of thinking, and that is that the reason we are on the planet right now at this time is because we all belong to one soul, one large collective soul family. And because we got this one line in our creed of the heart that our race is human, it catches me when I see it, when I read about it. It's all over the internet. This various teachers are saying this idea that we belong to a soul family, and the reason we are here at this time on the planet is because we belong to this soul family. We wouldn't be here otherwise. And the only way, it makes me smile. It makes me, I'm delighted by the idea. I have no idea if this is so, but I'm delighted by the idea, is that I believe, and I have practiced that, is that we need to be multi-sensory beings now, in 1 foot on the 4th dimension and 1 foot in the 3rd dimension. And we now need to know the shift between those two. And the only way we know how to shift is to practice meditation and prayers and come to meetings like that. Because we can't do it by ourselves. This is bigger than the individual. This is not individualism. So courage, where do I take the courage to think that I'm a multi-sensory being that can live with 1 foot in the spirit and 1 foot here? How can I find the courage to even conceive of the idea that I'm part of one large soul family? Oh my God, with everybody on the planet. Compassion. How big do I have to be to have the compassion for every living being at the moment on the planet? And then creativity. Of course, being who I am, I enjoy and I play a lot in the field of creativity. I love that activity because it's very invigorating. As we grow older, we learn more how to be efficient with our energies. And one of the way to be efficient is to be creative. I'm not talking about running around now and having 5 balls in the air, projects. I'm talking about creativity in the smallest way. Taking a photograph of something that catches you and then editing it. That's being creative. Right? Making something that makes me smile. Watching something with my four-leggeds. Rearranging something. But with an awareness that I'm in the field of consciousness when I do it, because I'm getting a smile on my face. I'm getting a bit of energy from it. As a multisensory being, we continuously shift between this world, the earth, that is caught in time and space, timelines, and then our spiritual self, which is outside of time and space. Everything you ever heard Unity say relates to your fourth dimension, right? I want to read you something by Charles Fillmore. It comes from Christian healing. God is never absent from creation, and God's creations are never apart from God, their source. Now remember, the wording of this is old. It's 100 years old, but hence, wherever you see the evidence of life, you may know that God is there. God's, and here come these big words, omnipresence is your omnipresence. Therefore, in spirit and in truth, you can never, for one instant, be separated from the life activity of God, even though you may not externally feel or know God's presence. God did not promise you a rose garden, but He gave you a rose garden. You know the idea of the thorns and the beauty? How did you ever held a bouquet of roses and somebody forgot to cut the thorns off? God lives in you, and you depend on God for every breath you draw. That's life, of course. That's the energy of life. The understanding you have is ever so meager, but it's from God. And you could not think a thought or speak a word or make a movement where God not in it. Your body is the soil in which God's life is planted. Your mind is the light for which God supplies the oil. Let me say that again. Your body is the soil in which God's life is planted. Your mind is the light. Your mind is the light for which God supplies this oil. I am the light of the world, Jesus said. Intelligence is the light of the world. Let your light shine. And then Fillmore says, and that's what I want to leave you with. How do you let your light shine? By increasing the supply of oil. The way you let your light shine is by increasing your consciousness of life in everyone and in everything, and by learning how to draw upon the omnipresent God for every need. This is Fillmore, 100 years ago. By increasing, how do you let the light shine? By increasing, and how do you increase? Is by participating in the collective that enhances, that grows in you your ability for courage and compassion and creativity, not for the purpose of happiness, but for the purpose of meaning. So close your eyes for a moment and take something from what we just said. Take something. Let something go in. Take a breath. Courage, compassion, creativity. I am planting in my field of consciousness. And my field of consciousness is experienced spirituality. Is where I take the reading and the thinking and the affirmation and I take it inside of me. And I do it again and again. I do it in the midst of the city. I do it when I walk. For I know that I am a modern-day mystic. I'm a multi-sensory being. And I was meant for this time. I was meant to be here on this planet at this time. And so it is. Amen.